And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, you guys. How are you? This lovely. Well, I guess it's lovely because we're up, so we're blessed. So that part is lovely. But I'm in Michigan, so it is gray here. But guys, today I am so excited. I'm just so pleased and honored. I have a delightful young lady here. And you know how some guys say they're a girl dad, and this and that. I'm really a girl mom. I have four daughters, and so this is like another daughter to me. This young lady is Latoya Charleston. You're out of Philadelphia, right?
Yes, I
She's
just outside the city.
out of Philadelphia. I'm so excited to have her here. Some of you already know her from a very a fun show. It's a fun show that she's part of. And let's see if I can find it for us.
Hi, everybody.
I'm going to give you guys a quick peek. And there she is with Patty Jackson. She comes on from time to time and talks and chats and everything else. So she's like a friend in my head.
Yes.
This is Latoya Charleston. Latoya, thank you so much for stopping by. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm just so happy to be doing this with you. I feel like, again, like you said, another daughter. I'm telling her she's like a surrogate mom, surrogate auntie. Like,
Yes, yes.
when the husband called, I'd be like, "Hey, unc," like.
She does. She actually does.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys. So, what's the weather like over there? Like, we are one day we're sunny, the next day we're snowy, the next day we're cloudy.
Girl, we going through. We haven't been snowy just yet. Like, let's hope it doesn't come back. But the rain is here. It's very today. It's a crack field day because 1 minute the sun is shining bright. Now it's an overcast. It's cold out. Yeah, so it's a mess. But the sooner the good weather is on its way.
Absolutely. And don't we have here, because Michigan people don't seem to understand, it's the East. I'm Eastern time, so I'm just like
Yeah.
everybody else. So once we get to the spring and summer here, it's lovely. So you went to Temple University. Oh, that is the old Cosby School.
Yes, child. And
Do
look,
people ever say that to you? You know, I'm not really trying to be funny, but
you know what? No, because I think because I'm still living in the Philly area, so it's kind
mhm.
of one of those things we know. But it's like when I go outside of Philly, although I haven't traveled lately and have had that conversation, or I go to Temple, but it's a very recognized name around the country. So
Yes.
here we look at it like, oh, you went to Temple, it's not that big of a deal. Like, but outside, it's prestige. And it's so funny that you say that about Bill Cosby, because I got a confession. Bill
Oh,
Cosby, that was his school. Guess who I entered one of my biggest interviews in college was?
was it?
Not Bill, another offender, Matt Lauer.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh my goodness. Oh no.
Oh, it'd be those moments at that point in time you would hear those two names, and it was just
Right.
everything. It was so exciting. And Matt Lauer was such a nice guy. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that those are some interesting people.
yeah.
So you went into broadcast media. What had you interested in that?
You know what, Joyce? It's so funny because I think I always knew I wanted to be entertainment some way, shape, or form. In high school, I had the stargaze dream of being a singer, which I would go on auditions and things like that. I wanted to get into some modeling, would go on go-sees, but just something at that time, you know how disgusting the business can be.
You're
So
right, right.
being a young and personable Black girl, I had somebody approach me in a way of very real raw, and in a sexual tone. And their reason for it was, well, that's what everybody has to do to get
Mm,
in here. And mind you, I'm a 16-year-old girl at the time, sitting in front of these record execs by myself, me
right.
and my best friend at the time, because my mother couldn't get off of work and make it.
Mm,
So that just left a really poor taste in my mouth. So I was like, I really want to do it, but I don't want that to be
right.
associated with it. So it did take me some years, in high school, graduated high school. It took me a while. Didn't go back to community college until I was 21. Lived my life, partied a bit, but I kind of always knew, Joyce. I was like, well, school is so expensive. I'm not just going to go and not know what I wanted to do. Uh,
Right.
so I'd had the privilege of working on a local independent film, And I think in that moment, working on that film, I was like, I hit I caught the bug, so to speak. Um,
Mm.
and I just knew. I said, I know it's something film, TV, just the producing of things. I love that. Once I decided, I said, okay, I definitely want to do entertainment. Decided to go to Temple. Ran into an ESPN commentator at the time. His name was Sal Palantonio, and he goes, hey, I heard you want to go to broadcast school possibly. He was like, well, give me a list of your goals, like your 5-year plan. And if I like what I see, I'll write you a letter of recommendation. And I got the letter of recommendation, and it's been history ever since.
Wow, that is fantastic.
As
That's
I've been
wonderful.
grinding and trying to grow myself and build myself, and the
And
struggle's real, and everybody's
you and Dex, if you watch the show, you know about Sexy Dex. You guys
yes.
have a podcast too, correct?
Yes, we do have our own podcast, which we will be having you on as a
I
guest.
would love to. I'd love
Yeah,
to.
so it's called The Comments right now. It's called The Comments, and we do it weekly on IG Live. So you can catch us there. We upload it to the YouTube as well, and it can be found on my YouTube channel, which you can find it at Chocolate Divinity. So just search that, it'll pop right up. But we are in the process of rebranding it, and we're going to turn it into an actual real like podcast, but that will be called something else. So we are making moves. It
I
is
love
happening.
that.
Thank you.
I love that.
And then the things with Patty, we're still on Patty and the Millennials podcast. So we're
Right.
doing the little engines that could.
I'm like, you remember, did you see that Issa Rae from Insecure? And she was on, I think the Grammys or somewhere. She said, oh, I want all black folks to win.
I'm
So
rooting for everybody black.
I'm
Yeah.
rooting for everybody black. That's what she said. And
Yes.
yeah, I'm rooting for you guys.
Yeah, we love you for it. Thank you.
Sure. So today we're here on a little bit of a more serious topic. And I think this is really important. And this is what I love about my audience. I have a diverse audience, and they're have a strong desire to tell their story, because a lot of us have stories and we don't get to tell them. And I make a safe space for everybody to come in and share their story, and they talk to each other, and I talk back and forth with them. And so this is a subject that to me needs to be talked about. And I think that God blessed me with a platform so that I can do things like this. It's not always about what's Donald Trump, what's Biden, what's this, what's that,
Yeah.
whatever. Sometimes we have to talk about things that may not be comfortable, and we need to talk about them.
Yep.
So I want to start with a definition of racism. And for me, and for what I've seen, and I've talked about this in the other video, looking at Oxford Dictionary, that definition, by the way, has changed. I'm always reading stuff, Miss Cullen, the teacher. But
Yes.
anyway, that definition has changed over time. But it's really when a particular group puts themselves as superior over another group. It could be race, a gender, sexual orientation, any of those things. But it used to be the definition was race was people that had power, money, or influence,
Yeah.
looking down on people that they thought were less, or categorizing people by certain characteristics, shape of the nose, the fullness of their lips, the how much melanin or how least melanin they have. And I'm bringing you in as a millennial because I want a different voice. I'm a baby boomer. What do you guys say racism is?
It's so funny because Joyce, I'd say what you said. I mean, I've always gone and looked at the actual dictionary and what it says, and it really is just a supreme. Like, you feel as though people who look like you, we are supreme over others. What I look at it honestly, that's fine if that's what you want to think in your world, that you are a supreme being. So be it. You got to be your own best motivator. But just because you see yourself as a supreme being, it does not make it okay for you to really look at others less than, and then try to take their lives from them and impede them from progressing in this world. That's
Right.
where I take issue with it. If it was just full on textbook dictionary of racism, okay, be delusional. Okay, you think you're better and greater, and your delusion live in your world. But when you're taking it and it affects me, personally and my loved ones and my family and people who look like me around the world, that's when I'm like, no. And the only way past it, Joyce, we really do have to have more conversations like this.
Absolutely. And it is a social construct. It was made up to begin
Yes.
with. If you go back to the when the signing of the Constitution and all of that, majority of people that were enslaved, the poor whites, the females, were not even included. They weren't even in the
Nope.
Constitution. They didn't own land or anything. Women were subservient. And so it was the people that were wealthy that seemed to have wrote the Constitution for themselves.
Yes.
And then when the Civil War happened and we needed more bodies and slavery was to be held in place in the South, we had to get people, well, they had to get people involved in it, not us, we weren't there, but
Yeah.
in order to include more white soldiers, it made it as if you are now a part of us. You're okay, even though you're not wealthy, you got the right skin color to participate in. And it seemed to me like from there, it just seems like there was this longing to be a part of something that people on different classes
Yep.
really wanted to be a part of. So even as it comes to history, Toy, and I don't know if you knew this, and I'm not here to try to educate you, I'm just sharing you something. There was a woman, her last name was Wilborn, like Margaret something, Margaret Taylor Wilborn, I think her name is. But anyways, she was the one that got history together, and she was a female. She was actually a white supremacist,
Mhm.
and she was the one of the daughters of the Confederate,
Yes.
where they felt that the South ruled, slavery was good. And so their version of history was banning particular books that were inclusive. They tried to minimize slavery in terms of Civil War and anything else. She would go through and take out anything at all. And the teachers that were teachers at that time, sort of had to pass this litmus test of when you teach history, it has to look the way that I want it to look, the way
Yes.
we want to. We want to write our own story.
I'm very
So,
aware. Mhm.
mhm,
I'm very aware of that.
right. And so one thing I want to talk about is microaggressions. Have you heard of that, microaggressions?
Yes, the little, we call them sneak disses in the hood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And
Yeah.
so I actually pulled up a list for those that may not know what that is. Let me see, microaggressions right there.
There we go.
And so, as you can see, they come in different ways. There's verbal, behavioral, environmental. And you and I personally have experienced these in our own lives.
Yes.
We don't even have to share, I mean, I already know.
Mhm.
Verbal would be if you can't pronounce my name, it's too difficult. Or they were mentioning here in this list, if someone had a lesbian coworker, they would ask them, who is the man?
Thank you.
Or
Mhm.
they would say to you, a white colleague might say to you, "Boy, you speak English so well." Like, of course I do. Yeah.
Where and I'm from here. Why would I not?
Right.
Well.
hmm
Mhm.
Exactly. And then there's other ones, excluding people of color from executive positions. You're well qualified, highly qualified, and you can't get the position, or you've got to be 10 times as qualified as the average person.
Yes.
So I was obviously you've experienced that, but I
Mhm.
want to take that shift right into Ketanji Brown Jackson. What do you think about the way she has had to be 10 or 20 times better than who's ever on the courts now?
It sucks. I guess for me, it's funny because I don't want to say I don't think too much about it because I do. And I think I say that because I live this life as a Black woman navigating in these spaces, mostly where people don't look like you, especially in the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at it, was I shocked? Absolutely not. Part of me feels as though it needed to happen because these are things, quite honestly, Black women, and we know this country has a very long history up until the present of not believing Black women when we
Right.
say something. So there would be those moments where you would try to say something or even speak up for yourself, and you're cornered as the, oh, she's the angry Black woman. But it's like
Period.
I literally can't have the same reaction to a situation, and it could be an unjust situation. I am not entitled in my Blackness to have a real reaction in front of
Right.
white people, but these white women and other white people, we see it all the time. If something upsets you, oh, we got to shut the world down. What's going on? They have the history of putting the white woman on the pedestal in this country. So unfortunately, we're just in a space to where they do get those passes of when they're just get emotional and crazy, like,
Or
okay,
the
you
tears, it's the
yes,
tears.
those tears, child. Oh no,
Hmm.
we have to control her. We have to protect her. But when it's us doing it, oh, you're an issue. But thank God we are in a space of cameras are on now. The cameras
Right, to
being
catch
touted.
everything.
Katanji, this needed to
Let me
happen.
take it back to Katanji. Katanji had the most grace and poise and dignity. I watched a couple of days of those hearings, right?
Mhm.
And it was shameful the way they spoke to her. They cut across her, they talked over her, under her, they attempted to humiliate her. And
Yeah.
all the while, we had to do what a Black woman has to do. We had to be quiet, we
Mhm.
had to seem so submissive.
Yep.
Whenever she got a chance to talk, she was absolutely brilliant. But
Yes.
had she have been able to back them up, or don't talk to me like that, or act like Brett Kavanaugh. I don't know if you know about him, but he acted a whole
Mhm.
fool over his SA allegations and stuff like that. If she had acted a fool like them, they would have automatically cut those 3 days, would have been a day, and she would have to go on somewhere else. She
Yeah.
had to be 10 or 20 times more qualified. And in fact, it is an actual fact and documented. She is much more qualified than anyone who's ever sat on the bench. And yet she still had to be the good little Black girl. And I thought it was
Mhm.
completely disrespectful.
It
And
was.
this case brings it in the public. So you can
Yeah.
see this is what we go through on a daily basis.
Every single day. And it's
Mhm.
so funny. So it's one of those moments. Do I like that it's happening? Of course I did not like. And honestly, Joyce, because just walking the walk, I couldn't watch it. Like I have
Yes.
to just look at the excerpts that would come out because and
Mhm.
once ever it's the wind blows over, I will go back and watch the whole thing. But I'm like, I just could not do it because this is life for us. I mean, and with
Yes.
Black woman, I mean, when later on we'll get into the whole colorism conversation, but
Mhm.
at the end of the day, no matter what like spectrum you line, you lay in the Blackness line, no Black woman is free from this. And
Right, absolutely.
it's
And
just
I'm sure, like you, just as me, I've literally been to job interviews, or I've been in a job and then they had me training Susie Lou, who was new, and now she is my new supervisor, trying to tell me what to do. And I'm like, ma'am, didn't I just tell you? Da-da-da?" It happens on a regular basis. I remember a young lady, I was working at a school, and we're about, I'm probably about 3 or 4 or 5 years into this school, and I'm teaching fourth grade and stuff. And so they hired this lady out of Michigan, as a matter of fact. She was going to be the dean of students, the disciplinarian.
yes,
She was about 10 years younger, 15 years younger than most of us, and she had no children. All you have to do, if you're going to be the dean of students, have some kids, and you will
yeah,
be the dean. I don't care who you are, you'll know how to. But she had none of that. And so it was always a struggle to try to send someone down there, or if she wasn't invited into conversation and spaces that really didn't pertain to her, she was consistently highly upset. And it was just a whole thing with her. The kids would be literally crawling all over the desk and everything else.
mhm,
And I would remember looking at her like, this job was not for you. You knew it wasn't for you coming in the door. You weren't highly qualified. You didn't, they sent her to me to tell her about how we do this, and we do this in testing and this. Why am I training her to do that job? That's your job,
thank you.
so.
And
Mhm.
it's funny how these corporations, and it brings me back to a story I read a while ago, and I'll talk about it. But it's funny how these corporations, they know Black women. We know how to get things together and run
Right.
things. We've been doing it from the beginning. That's why y'all had us in slavery, running y'all households because you
Mhm.
know what we're capable of. But it's just such a fat slap in the face where you do see that they will send the new hire to you to train them, and then before you know it, this new hire is now, like you said, your boss or has some type of position over you or just some type of better salary. And this
Absolutely.
happens all the time, and people need to wake up. And it brought me back to a story that I read. This one woman, she posted it on Twitter, and she was saying how she went into this business, and she just noticed like there were a lot of black women like working for him. And
Hmm.
so she said, she asked him, he pulled him to the side, like, this is weird. Like, I've never seen this before. And he was a white man. And he said, to be honest, if I know I have black women on my team, especially protecting my finances and certain things and the day-to-day running of the business, I'm not going to have any issues. So he was like, for my business, that's primarily what you will see. I will fill like clerical stuff, like I'll give those to other people. But for the most part, to the real crux of the business, I have black women because I just trust them, and I never had to, like, even when I have to be away from the business for a while, I'll come back and I know like everything is handled the way it should.
Right. So
Mm-hmm.
let me ask you this, because you are in media, you have studied media, and I know that you guys do more of in the entertainment aspects of it. But I think, true or false, that that drama sells. Can we agree on that? Drama sells.
1000%.
And the reason I say that is because, and I'm not saying everybody black is wrong or right, or everybody white is wrong or right, or anybody else. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we have these decisions that we make it out of life. We make them out of fear. And I think media helps to stoke that fear, because when we look at real numbers, black women in college, there's like white men in college, and then there's black women in terms of the number of women who have
Yep.
advanced degrees, and they're making, six-figure salaries.
Mm-hmm.
And yet every time we look on the nightly news, they always put that, and you know what I'm talking about, girl, that one that you about to lose your job, and all
Yeah.
that. They
Ain't
put
nobody
that,
got time for that, even though we
right,
love it because it's
right. They
actually
put them
fun.
on the mic,
Yeah.
or they always show somebody, black getting some food stamps or some this, that, and the third. And yet the highest percentage of people that collect monies from the government in social welfares are white. They outnumber black people by
Yes.
quite a bit. But they never really show that too much, unless they've got some kind of documentary about some sick meth head, something, they might
Yes.
show a peek of that. But that's not even reality. But I think the media helps to stoke the fear of, you got
Oh,
to be scared of these black guys with their pants sagging, or
oh,
these
yes.
black women, yada, yada, yada. But majority of the time, that's not true. I'm not saying does not happen, but
No.
it happens both ways. If you look at personal crimes as it comes to like marital crimes, relationship crimes, boyfriend crimes, you have more people that are non-black
Mm-hmm.
uh, that do more of that type of, but we don't, that might be on the ID channel, but you're not
Yeah.
going to hear about it on the news.
Nope.
So I'm wondering, do you feel like that being in the media world, or have you learned that being in the media world?
Oh God, yes. And it's so funny because, of course, being a black woman in these spaces,
Mm-hmm.
they don't make it so you get those things of, oh, well, that's just how it is. Like, that's how we've been doing it for years. That's just the format. And if you challenge it, you will get that. When if you challenge it, and it's not even challenging anything, it's like, clearly I'm pointing out, you see this as an issue, right? Oh no, you become the issue.
Right.
But
Mm-hmm.
it's so funny, Joyce, because me and Dexter were just talking about this on the comments, and I'm starting to see, I'm hoping we're changing that narrative, because we
Mm-hmm.
recently had a story that happened here this week, happened Monday morning, a bad car accident. 2 state troopers were killed and a pedestrian, all by a drunk driver. So when it happened, I'm like, they know who this drunk driver is. She must be a white woman, because you haven't given the information, because we know traditionally, historically, what they have done to us. If as soon, even if the race doesn't have any way, shape, or form relatability to the crime that happened, they will lead right away with, oh, this black woman so and so,
Right.
male so and so. And it's
Mm-hmm.
rare that they would ever do that. I rarely recall hearing that when it came to white people or other than black being posted on the news. And it took them 2 days to really release this girl's information, a young girl, sad story overall. But in that moment, I was like, wow, is the media? trying to change, right or wrong, that they have flamed this racist, just, oh God, this racism.
Hmm.
They have flamed it for generations. So I just looked at that as maybe it's a small testament that things are changing, because we have seen the real conversations where the media have been brought to the table. Like,
Right.
oh,
And
you have a
as they
reason
should
for
be.
this. Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
So,
because I'm gonna tell you when I was shocked when George Floyd, everybody was protesting, right?
mhm,
And so I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Milwaukee is
okay.
kind of like Baltimore, Philly, like that,
Yeah.
Detroit. And so in my late teens, we moved to Las Vegas. I spent the rest of my life there. However, Milwaukee was extremely segregated. It was like number two, the state number, no, the state was number seven most segregated, and that Milwaukee is in the north, okay, all
Mhm.
touching Canada, and Milwaukee
Girl.
was number two most segregated. And yet, when I saw George Floyd parade, I started to cry. I promise you, I'm a big crybaby these days as I get older. And I saw old people, young people, black people, white people, Latino X people, Asian people. I saw everything, and young people, old people on bikes and marching and everything. They were all peaceful, mind you. However, I saw them marching, and I was flabbergasted, because I would grew up where you don't cross such and such a street. You don't end up, you're not on this side of the street at night, that side of the street at night. In fact, we had Catholic priest, Father Grappi. I don't know if anybody has heard of Father Grappi, and he was really pro-black. And this is dates back to the 60s. And he would literally march with people to the South Side, because you could not, as a black person, go on the South Side. They would
Wow.
lynch you. So, and this is in the North. Yeah. And so he really was instrumental in helping to break down some of those barriers anyways. But when I saw some small healing, that's when I said, you know what, there is a change abreast.
Yes, there
Um,
is.
mhm.
People
Yeah,
are
I
tired.
think
They're tired. And you got to be honest, Joy. The more, before we know it, this world, I mean, at least in America, it ain't going to be black and white. Everybody going to be looking alike. We all going to be Puerto Rican. Because,
that's what I said. Listen, y'all all gonna look just like this right here. This is what you're gonna look
yeah,
like here.
exactly.
Seriously,
So it's
if
one
you
of
look
those
at the data or the statistics, it came back that people of color outnumbered white people for the first time in history here in the United States.
things,
And that
child.
was
And
a
that shook them up.
combination. Mhm.
Yeah, and that shook them up when that
Yeah.
happened. And let's be clear, that's what they're really trying to hold on to. You're trying
Mhm.
to hold on to the status quo of whiteness. And you do have a lot of white people. Like we said, now you have black people in your family. So it's easy to talk that talk when you don't, it's not in your face, it's not sitting at your table. But once it comes home, and the same with black people, once it comes home, it becomes real and it naturally changes things, and it's never going to be overnight. We're not saying
No,
that.
that's
It's
right.
not. And sometimes it even might take another couple of generations to be born, but it, at least there was the example has to start somewhere. The new standard has to start somewhere. So you get used to it. And when it comes real, when it like at one point when it was black and white, but when black and white shows up in your family, 9 times out of 10, what are you going to do?
Right. Absolutely.
The human
And
in
it's
you.
kind of funny because now I live in this little town in Michigan, right on Lake Michigan.
Mhm.
Uh, and you see it's very senior. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm 62 this year. They're way older than me. But you see them walk in the neighborhood and they got their little mixed kids. And I just think it's so friggin' cute. But those are the same people that don't really speak. Now they sort of wave at us. Maybe they're
Yep.
just trying to get to know us. But now they got their little mixed kids, and
Mhm.
and
And,
I
and
find it quite adorable. This is Michigan. This is Michigan. They are very strange group of people in this state. And so to see
yep.
them with their little mixed kids and loving on them, girl.
Yes, because
What?
because Joyce, like it's my family. What, like, you can't live in this state forever, and so things like this need to happen. And trust me, a lot of the elders, because they're older than you, child, so
Hmm.
you know it was the regular topic of
Yes.
conversation in that household
Yes.
when them doors were closed.
Oh, yes, absolutely. When I grew up, we moved out of the city in Milwaukee, right? We lived in a hood, if you're going to say that. And then
Mhm.
we moved out to the suburbs. And literally, I was just this carefree kid, right? And I'd go and ring on somebody's door to see if they can come out, and they could come out. And I'd be like, "Oh, can we come in your house and play with your Barbies or whatever?" No, my
Mhm.
parents won't allow you in the house. No, you have to be outside. I didn't understand at that time. This was like 65, 66, that type of thing. In retrospect, it's like, aha, but
Yeah.
that's just the way that it was. And I think it's you guys and the generations behind you that are saying, wait a minute, we can't stay stuck in this
No.
frame of thought, this frame of separatism all along. We got to
Uh,
stop. Let's go to because I want to get that last piece. I don't want to lose any time on us. Okay.
okay.
But I got a lot of comments, but I really only want to hit on Clarence and Jenny Thomas. And someone asked me a great question about their marriage, and they thought that it was kind of bizarre, that how could they be married and be an interracial couple, and yet she's part of QAnon and she's a presumed racist, and I would imagine that she is, finding out the things she's done, and with her text to Mark Meadows and trying to be part of the January 6th mess. What's your opinion? How could she be white and he be black? And how could they not necessarily live together in the house? Because you'd have to be there, know that. But give me your take on that. How does that work?
Because all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Like
Right.
to me, like let's be honest, Clarence Thomas hates his life as a black man. He
Mhm.
doesn't like to those types, and I don't know Clarence in particular, but I've seen this type over and over and over again.
Yes.
I guarantee you, growing up, he probably felt ousted by a lot of black women. He probably would feel like, okay, I want to come talk to you. He probably grew up as like the nerdy type and just felt like with them, it ain't it. Who knows?
Mhm.
But eventually, as you grow up, they internalize that. Men, they don't shake like things off the way we do. It's so funny,
Right.
women, we get so coined as being the emotional ones, but it's no. Men, that's probably your problem because you don't allow yourself to feel as much. So you gotta open it and really work through those issues. But no, he is a black man who hates himself. Rather, he will say it, and I guarantee he probably will never say this out loud. But Clarence does not like that he's a black man. So that's really what they used to call him, the Uncle Toms.
Yeah.
So that's Clarence.
I think that you're right. I think that they offer each other something, right? So she gets the status and the power. My husband is the Supreme Court justice, irregardless of what he looks like. But he
Uh-huh.
gets to have the door open to big time money and big time
Yes,
influence, and hobnob with stuff like I'm married to Jenny, da da da. And
yes.
so I think that has a lot more to do with it than love. People don't always, fall in love as young people, and because he's been married before. And when you start getting those second, third marriages, it's about convenience and what are you bringing to the table that's
Yes.
going to advance me. And I think that the self-hate is real on his part. Um, and that makes it easy for him to cling to her or try to cloak for her on these silly things that she's doing. Now, my
Mm-hmm.
dad was white. My parents passed. My dad was white. My mother was black. They grew up together in Mississippi. Very strange. They did. And then they had to run away to Milwaukee and get married. But they came from a similar background. He ate chitlins and collard greens, turnip greens, pig
Mm-hmm.
feet, all this and that, and be making them and everything. Make that hog. Remember, I don't know if you remember that hog head cheese. We used to call it hog head sauce back in
Yeah,
the day.
I ain't never had it, but I seen it
Oh,
made.
girl.
Oh! Yeah.
Imagine when we would come home from school back in the day and the whole hog's head would be on the dining room table because my mother had to boil it and stuff. But he
Uh-huh.
was he was just like that. He wasn't putting on anything.
I
He
love
was from Mississippi, so he had that country accent. But he also had his I love Johnny Cash and John Wayne side of him too.
it.
But
Mm-hmm.
he was just regular. We didn't discuss color or racism at all. Nobody ever did. And in fact, I gotta talk to my cousin later. She's like, I used to love Uncle James. We used to love Uncle James. I said, yeah, because he
Oh,
was the realist. And so
yeah.
sometimes it is um, love,
Yes.
and there's a connection and a familiarity.
Mm-hmm.
And she brought sass. My mother used to be sassy and
Yes.
she was all pretty and fine and all that stuff. So.
But let's be clear also, Joyce, one of the biggest reasons, especially their love was able to endure in that time as well, was because even though he might have been a white man, he was still immersed within the culture.
Yes.
And that's what it's really going to take. That's why it was okay, like growing up in your household, we didn't talk about white or black because it wasn't a thing. Because
No.
he knew he was right there with her. He wasn't this white man coming from the outside with the let me rescue these black people complex
No.
and bring them better into the world. But no, I
Uh-uh.
am of you. Like we
Yes.
walk the same walk, we talk the same talk, we have the same experience. And to really fix it, that's what needs to happen. I mean, we've talked about it. A lot of white
Absolutely.
people, and let's be honest, this is the thing. A lot of times they don't even know what they're saying is racist a lot of the time because they're not in these spaces. I'm sorry, guys. It takes more than just watching a documentary or getting caught up on Ketanji Brown and George Floyd and be like, I saw the documentary, I'm all caught up. Like, it's great. That's a start, though. You have to get out in the trenches. And Black people, we need to be more open to it. It doesn't have to be like this. This is a time for real change, but everybody needs to just be open to it and always willing to have the heartstrings to do the work, because it's
Absolutely
going to be work to be done when it comes to this.
That's what I'm saying. We can't keep making our moves based on fear. That's what we're doing. Yep. I'm afraid, not me personally, but some people are afraid. Black people are afraid of white people. We don't trust you. And then the other hand, some white people are afraid of Black people. We don't trust you. Where do we start? We got to check within and see, I need to let some of these things go. You know how to move in the world. You know who to trust and who not to trust. You don't need to grab your purse every time I'm walking by. I'm not reaching for it. I'm good over here. Yep. And so it requires simple reaching out and something simple like saying hello or what have you. I know that's very simple, but sometimes people need to crawl before they can walk. But we can't move forward unless we let down some of these shields that we have and these barriers and these false beliefs and look at some of these news shows and TV shows with a grain of salt. Can we jump in quick before we run out of time? And I want to talk about us on us. And this is something, people, that we don't really have this conversation out loud, but I want us to talk about it. And Toya wants to talk about it too. So you want to start? Let's talk about us on us.
Let's do it. It's so funny because when we hear the word racism, we think like one like race of people, like just say for Black and white, because that's what we have here in the States mostly. But there is another form of racism within Black people that most white people don't even understand it, and they call it colorism. But the real core of it, the crux of it, is racism. But for whatever reason, we don't like to call it because I guess it'll mess our heads up to where it's always been that line, you're lighter skinned, you're darker skinned. We know people used to subscribe to the paper bag test. And so today, even though those, or the doll test, so that might not be happening today, but those messages are still very underlying within the culture. I see it even when I go out. I have a very eclectic group of girlfriends. Like I grew up in, I'm from the Philadelphia area, but grew up military. So I lived in California, and that was really my first experience. Seeing, like, the races together. I think the races like together and like eating from each other and like, no, we're real friends. We're in each other's houses. We're having sleepovers with one another. And that was my first time I had ever seen a Middle Eastern person, because back then, like, it wasn't a thing. Like, they were around, but they were pockets. But I'm like, oh, y'all up and through here and y'all don't see race as a thing like that. But even till this day, like, I'll go out with my girlfriends and I will see a Black man. They will go to my girlfriends who are non-Black before they come to me. And I see it. And it's sad when, like, I'll never, just out a few weeks ago, and this guy, Black guy, nice looking, tall, but a kid. So I wasn't interested, but I was studying rooms. I like that. and I'm looking at him, and it's like a beautiful Black woman next to him, and he's not even paying attention. But this young white woman who just, she don't look like no Kardashian. She just looks like an average white woman. Joyce, when I tell you the way he was lusting, like you just, it was like F everybody else.
Right.
That's what he wanted. So we can't act like this does not happen today, but
No, it's almost, I don't know if it's unconscious, subconscious, if it's conscious, it's as if, and you know what I'm talking about, because I'm this complexion, right? It puts me closer to white. So
yeah,
I have better opportunities if I have good hair,
okay.
long hair, straight hair, thin lips, nose. That puts me in some Black folks' mind that I got better chance, or I'm like the man and all of that. When the
Yep.
reality is, I can be in any place and people will still act with fear. They don't know I have an advanced degree, that I have been a professional for many years, that I do my own business here out of my home. There's many things they don't know, that I even own a house, or I'm married. I'm not a single mother somewhere. But it's this presumption that I'm closer to white, so I'm better than, or I think I'm better than.
Yep. And that's
When
not
reality, we don't think anything.
no. And it's so funny because, like you said, like so a lot of white people don't know this conversation. I'm the one to have these conversations with, and I'll have them on the office floor like I have before. And we're talking about it. And whenever I have this, bring it up to white people, they be like, what? Like, huh? They don't understand it because they just look at it like, well, if you're Black, you're Black. Now, let's be honest. They could think if you are a lighter skinned Black, well, since I have to have you in my spaces, maybe I feel a bit more comfortable, a bit more safe with somebody that looks like you. But again, that always goes back to slavery, because usually 9 times out of 10, the master's kids were mixed race because you were down there raping the Black women on a plantation. And those kids primarily would work in the house. So that's really, and then you just know, well, ain't no good treatment in slavery in any way, shape.
That's what I'm gonna say, girl. Just what I'm gonna say. They were still slaves.
Thank you. You're still a slave, but for whatever reason. But honestly, think about it. If you really think about it, it wasn't created by us. It was created by them because they knew the tool. And race is one of the easiest ways, and it's the easiest and dumbest ways that you can split people up. And unfortunately, we bought into it, and it still prevails to this day.
But it's a disaster with us. It is that we come in all shades and all hair textures, and the coloring is just absolutely gorgeous. I've got grandkids that are literally, you wouldn't even know that they were Black, African American, whatever it is. I say Black. I'm old school.
I'm Black.
Okay, but you would not even know by looking at them. But when I pull up some greens and bread, they right there with their fingers
right there
and everything
at the
else.
table. Let me get some of that.
Very proud of that. And so it should never be, to me, and I'm preaching, that we inside of our own race should be against each other. Because even though some people that are darker complected assume that light people got it easier because they're like, that's not true. In dealing in the larger scheme of things, we Black
at the end of the day
to others.
Yep. They don't see nothing, they just see Black. And I'm going to treat you the same that I would treat the other Black person, no matter what it is, if that is in your heart.
Right.
But it's just sad. And it does seem like, I don't want to make it seem like we're just in a space and we're never going to get out of this. I mean, we have the natural movement, like where people are just really more so connecting with their Blackness, their African roots. More Black people are getting out in the world. And that's another thing I want to tell people, because Black people around the world, especially here in the States, we really get that negative, them Negroes is wild, like just destructive and all of that. But Black people, we got to tell our own narratives, because we're not, this is not us. And the only way we tell our narrative, now it's good because the media, we're starting to get more control of it with shows like Insecure and other Black creators. But one of the big things is you got to get into the world, let people see who you are. But a lot of us, they're afraid to travel. I'll have friends today. How many Black friends I know they ain't got no passport? And I'll be like, get you a passport.
I'll raise my hand. I keep thinking about it. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it.
We're getting you a passport, and we are going on a trip, friend.
We are going to. We are going
Yes,
to.
let the world see it's not what you've been, it's not all of what you've been fed your entire existence. So the history of the world has been whitewashed, and now it's just time that we unwash it.
Absolutely. Right. You know, I always try to tell people this is a number 6 year of the United States, a number 6 year of the world. And a number 6 year is about balance and harmony. Okay, it really is. However, we can't get the table, you know, think about a table with 4 legs, right? And 3 of them are just right, but one is shorter. So now what we got to do, we got to break that table down so we can get all the legs the same length, and then we will come in balance. And so this year, there's going to be a lot of things breaking down, and that includes looking at this this old-fashioned view of racism, this view of hating. In fact, people that are claiming to be these QAnons and Oak Boys and whatever mess, they looking like straight fools. Yes. We have so many allies that are saying, wait a minute, I'm over this. Because you're not going to see me go to no grave at 80 or 90 years old, still talking about racism and who I hate and who are this and that. Not at all. The table legs are breaking down right now, but you're going to see us coming into balance. And like you said, over a course of time, there's going to be a change, and we should be welcoming that. And I may not be here. You may not. I don't know. But there'll be a change. But the change has to start right in here. It has. The change has to say, you know what? I'm here for it. I'm letting my old belief that, you know, mom and dad told me long time ago, or the conversation I heard around the table about the N words and the this and the that. That's got to go. It didn't amount to anything.
You got to check Uncle Mark at the table, and the only way, because what it is, you'll sit there and you'll be like, oh, that's just Uncle Mark. That's how he is. But it's impossible for you to say that when you're really in these spaces doing the work, and these people who don't, that Uncle Mark is disparaging, they are a part of your world. So usually, like, when that becomes more of a thing, that's when you'll be able to check Uncle Mark or Uncle whoever, Auntie Annie, or whoever, check them. And but let's be clear also, I feel like as people just are waking up, we see how inflation is, it's just getting horrible. Let's be clear, and you touched on this earlier, Joyce, it's never really been about race. It's always been about the battle between the rich and the poor. But
that's what it is.
That's what the rich white people did, especially in the beginning of this country. They said, well, damn, when you were poor and white, they like, well, we really don't like you anyway, but we're gonna give you a little job. We're gonna have you gonna call you the overseer, because guess what? You might be poor, but you're not black.
Right.
And they brought it in the turn of this century, when the bunch of the Irish people came over. In the newspapers, there was ads that said NEETA, no Irish need apply. If you were Irish, you experienced it too.
The Irish, the Italians as well. Oh, and the Chinese, having them build the transatlantic railroad and all of that, the way they got blown up by trying to make tunnels into the mountains.
And they wouldn't even rent to them. They wouldn't even rent to them, Joyce. They would have to live underground, make stuff underground. Come on.
Exactly. It is like the people, the wealthy. I'm talking about the wealthy. And I'm talking about the Jeff Bezos and all of those people. It is about let's get them busy hating on each other. Let's get them preoccupied with something trivial, skin color, while we steadily making money. And they are. So we're sitting here marching and fussing and this and that, and they steadily getting a check every day.
Laughing. Look, Jeff Bezos on his new $1 billion yacht, child, laughing at y'all. And yet, was that him?
I know Elon Musk is up in the air. Was Jeff Bezos going up? Girl, I can't remember who. Another one is supposed to go up in space or whatever.
Oh, it was Bezos. Yes. Bezos too, because that's when the Amazon rates went up, and I said, well, somebody got paid for the spaceship, and ain't no sense complaining, because your lazy behind is not going to get up and go back to the store like you used to have to do.
Right, that's right.
All right, Jeff, have fun on the boat.
Absolutely. Sweetheart, we gotta go. We've been here an hour
We can
and
do this for forever,
oh,
child.
we're gonna do it again. We gotta come back and do a part two. That is for sure. I have enjoyed you tremendously. Thank you so much for coming on. Tell us where we can see you so we can check you out, or tell us where we can find your podcast again.
Yeah, so you guys can find me. It's actually I will be launching. I have another podcast that I started with years ago. It's called You Got McDonald's Money, but you can find them on podcasts, and we will be relaunching. I just don't like the virtual thing. Like I feel like that podcast it needs to have people on site because the
Right.
energy it changes the energy in the room.
Hmm.
So that will be relaunching. You can follow me on social media. Primarily, I'm on Instagram, and you can find me by Latoya Charleston or Chocolate Divinity. My YouTube page is Latoya Charleston or Chocolate Divinity, and Facebook. I'm not really on there like that, but Chocolate
Mm-mm.
Divinity. Yeah, I just
And I wish people would stop trying to hit me up because I'm not accepting no friends because I'm not on there.
yeah, it's
I also I don't do LinkedIn either.
just we're meant to, this is meant to be. I said, my friend sent me a link to a job application LinkedIn. He was like, I said, you really want me to join this, do you? Don't you? I just,
Right.
no, I don't like it. Just because it's a social media platform, we don't have to subscribe to everything.
No. Mm-mm,
Like I'm
mm-mm.
going to put in my application like I used to do. Call me old fashioned, but
Right.
the material is
Exactly.
still the same.
And then there's a lot of people that watch me, and I'm blessed, and I'm so grateful that they listen to me. I am, but y'all stop, don't LinkedIn me because you're gonna be disappointed because I'm not gonna LinkedIn you back. I don't even know remember my log. They know my email because I get them, but don't do it. I don't do it. Do you do TikTok?
I have one I ain't created yet, and I have to get on it. I do have it, but I just have to really start. It's a lot. It's a full-time job keeping up with all these apps
It
and
is. I have it too, but
activity.
I have it too, but I just have Bear on there. My German Shepherd is on there.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did one of those morph pictures. You know how they go from a little kid up. I did that of
Yes.
myself. That's about it.
Okay. I'm gonna play with it. It's so funny because I said that would be one of my weekend tasks is getting to learn TikTok a bit more. But I do have a page. You guys are more than welcome to follow me there, and you'll give me a reason to create content.
Right, right.
So, but thank you so much for having me
You're
on.
very
I
welcome.
love this. I love what you do, girl. Your reads, your political reads. I trust you with my energy. Joyce will read me from time to time. But she'll read me in that way and a good auntie.
Right, that way
Stop
too.
playing.
Okay, so let's stay in touch and we'll get back and we can finish up the dialogue because there's more stuff I would just love to talk to you about.
Yes, yes, cannot wait. Thank you.
All right, you guys, remember to thumbs up, subscribe, and leave a comment and say hi to Latoya. Guys, have a good day.